Welcome to another episode of Elevator Pitch. I am Altair.
I am Hazel.
And for today's episode, we have another edition of Binge Week, which means that we're going to be talking about the Sopranos. Once more, 3 more episodes that we're going to be discussing. We hope that you watch them, that you're doing this binge week with us.
That we're not spoiling everything for you in advance.
We watched episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So, quite interesting.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. I think we saw what it's been categorized as one of the best episodes in TV history.
Yeah, we can talk extensively about that.
Yeah, I think I read that it's this Time Magazine, exactly. Time Magazine ranked it as number 2 of best episodes of all time.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
I can see why.
Yeah.
What was the number 1?
I think it's called The Contest. Is that Seinfeld episode?
Oh, okay.
Really, really funny.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is number 2.
Okay, not bad. Not bad.
So
it's out of all episodes ever aired on TV.
Exactly. So So, but I mean, that was number 5, College.
Yep.
But we started with number 4.
Yeah.
I'm curious. What did you?
I mean, once again, I liked it. I thought the use of the dream sequences was interesting. We got a bit more. I think episode 4 I found slightly harder to follow because it had a lot more of the maneuver, like the sort of political maneuvering that Tony has to do as the boss and trying to what's the word? Get his uncle on his side, sort of subdue him in a way. So maybe not one of my favorite episodes so far, just because of that, because you had to sort of understand. You're still learning who everyone is, what the politics are, how the mafia works, and just following all that at times was a little bit complicated, but it was still a good episode.
Yeah, I think I really, because this is the episode, I think, in which Dr. Melfi kind of like makes Tony, like she kind of like recommends that he makes not just his uncle but also his mother believe that they're actually in charge.
That he has to treat them like children,
basically.
And
exactly.
give them the illusion of control.
Exactly. Which I found, like, is that something that parents do? I don't think I ever had the illusion of control.
No, I know you was. I don't know. I guess you kind of want to give your children a slightly longer leash at times, and then maybe pull them back in from time to time, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess as a child, you always don't feel that, but.
Yeah, and it's also exactly, because it's also the episode in which the kid, his son, gets into a fight with this other kid, and I think it's they're calling his beeper just to take a piece of him out of him.
That's right. When beepers were still
when beepers were a thing.
It tells you how old it is.
And so he gets into this fight with this other kid, and he, like, his shirt gets ripped.
Yeah.
And his mom, Carmela, she makes a big deal out of it because
it was quite an expensive shirt.
Exactly. So then he goes back and said, "Hey, you owe me $40," and they get into another fight, and then
they plan another fight.
Exactly, they plan another fight. But this is when, like, what I liked about this episode with this particular subplot was the fact that I thought they were all aware in a way of what...
Yeah, that was interesting, sort of figuring out, and also in college as well, sort of the state, like how much Carmela knows and how guilty she feels. But it was interesting to learn. Okay, Meadow, his daughter, already is aware more or less that he's in the mob, but his son isn't, and it's kind of sad right at the end when I guess he sort of has this childhood innocence taken away from him, learning what his dad actually does.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, and the way, because of course, like they planned this other fight with this other kid, but in like another scene we see Tony interacting with the dad of the other kid, without knowing that there's a fight between the two of them. And I find it so funny. Like he's like, I think he's buying some gardening stuff.
Yeah.
And
he's also he's holding, I think, a flower pot or something, but he's also holding an axe in the other hand.
Exactly. And then they have this shot of the axe, and the other guy is scared to death.
Yeah.
Which to me, I mean, maybe if I was in this character's shoes, I would also be really, really scared. But since we get to know a little bit more of Tony. For me, it felt like a little bit like exaggerated, like an overreacted, because he's being friendly to this guy.
So far, yeah.
So far. I haven't...
Well, I think Tony was still under the impression, because Carmela said, to her son AJ, weren't you two friends at one point? And I think Tony is still under that impression that they're friends. So, yeah, and I guess the other guy maybe doesn't know that he doesn't know that. Yeah,
but still, to me, was like, I mean, he's not gonna kill you with the axe in front of all those people.
No, but I think a lot of the way maybe this is, I don't know. I don't really know how the mob works, to be fair. So, this is me going off of popular culture.
If we have any mobsters listening.
Going off of what popular culture has told me. But I think a lot of it is sort of the threat of violence. So I think he probably thought, the other dad thought that this threat is coming, or that... Well, I guess it reminded him that who Tony is and what he does. And the threat is there.
Yeah, but I thought it was like a very funny scene.
Yeah. I thought it was quite interesting that... Because right at the beginning you have Tony's dream of he's in Dr. Melfi's office, and then all of his other like mobster friends are like in the other room, and then he turns around and then Melfi turns out to be his mother, and it's, I guess, this fear of his mobster family finding out that he's in therapy, and I think that's quite interesting that that's what he's actually worried about. And in the end, the fact that his son finding out that he's in the mob, that's not at all on his radar. Or his children in general. The fact he's so taken aback in the next episode when Meadow asks him, "Are you in the mafia?"
No, definitely. I think I think it was very interesting as to like the paranoia that these people must live in, because of course there's a lot of power. I think we were talking about that the other day about like the drug lords, like, oh, you have all this power.
Yeah, initially it must feel quite good to have all that power, but you must eventually end up being so paranoid all the time about who's loyal to you, who's doing a good job. The police, obviously.
Yeah, and I found very interesting that he's afraid, that he's paranoid about most, we got to know that everyone in his circle knows that he's a mobster.
Yeah.
So what he's afraid of is that the mafia gets to see him as a human, which I think is like an interesting dynamic. Like you would, I guess, in a normal story, you would this monster guy who's actually seen as a good guy by everyone. Like, I think the treatment that it would have gotten was, okay, this is a normal guy who's actually a mobster, and he's trying to hide the fact that he's a mobster.
Yeah.
and because everyone sees him as this very nice guy, so that's the facade that he has to maintain. But here is the other way around.
Yeah.
It's like he's a mobster. It's a very tough guy, and he doesn't want to be seen as human, as someone who needs to go to therapy. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, like the fact that he saw Dr. Melfi as his mom.
Yeah.
Which is then when you see that he also fantasizes sexually about the Dr. Melfi, then you go, okay, there's
something
Freud.
going on there.
There's some Freud there. There's some Freud.
Yeah, because she does link it with him sort of seeing herself, Dr. Melfi, as what he wishes his mother and his wife and all the women in his life were to him, that they would listen or that they would, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I like the sort of link between that and the second scene where he plays like Mario Kart with his son, and you have this. Again, it's sort of this moment of innocence for the kid, just playing Mario Kart with his dad. But I also find it quite interesting that Tony feels the need to cheat, basically, to win. So I think that's quite telling, really.
Yeah. And like very, I thought, definitely, like, okay, it tells you a little bit of how he goes around life.
Yeah.
But I found, it wasn't, I think, like, for example, the second episode of that we saw on the last binge week.
Episode 2.
Thank you. When, like, I think I enjoyed that one more than this one, for example.
Yeah.
This one was, I think, like very, okay, you're setting something up for something that's going to be bigger ahead. Later on. What I did like a lot was in that last scene at the funeral.
Yeah.
When the kid is watching from the distance, I thought that it was very similar to the last scene of The Godfather when Diane Keaton's character is looking at Michael turning into
sort
the
of with new eyes.
Exactly. So I thought that was a very, like, a similarity between The Godfather and this episode.
Yeah.
It's like the kid watching from the distance, seeing his dad, being a mobster.
Yeah.
I'm interested in how he's gonna digest that, like, in future episodes, because in the next episodes that we watched, he's not on.
No.
So.
No. Second college.
Well,
5, he vanishes.
Yeah.
He goes and stays over at a friend's house, so he's not really in it for that much.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to what's gonna do that to the relationship between him and Tony.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
So then we have the subplot with his uncle, which kind of takes up a big portion of it, and I think it's quite interesting. Again, you see this interlinking between his uncle and his mother, how they sort of conspire together, really. And again, I found there was this really interesting moment with his mum where he comes in to visit her, like Tony comes in to visit her, and he brings her some macarons, and you can see this moment where her eyes kind of light up a little bit and she's about to grab it, and then she says, oh no, it's too sweet. And it's this tiny moment, but it's again quite emblematic of how she constantly treats Tony, regardless of what he says or what he does. It's never good enough for her.
Yeah. I thought also very funny. Funny not in the haha kind of way, but interesting maybe. The fact that he knows how much of an influence she has on the uncle. Because he goes and you should tell him this, and he listens to you. So I thought, like, oh, okay. So I think he's very aware of. I mean, also maybe he was saying that just to play along with this
that's true.
advice that Dr. Melfi gave him.
Giving her a sense of
Yeah.
power or control, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. I think it was actually very smart of him beyond the psychological implications of the advice of letting the uncle at least believe that he's in control, because okay, you're the boss now, but I think it's like a really good strategy to have he's the boss,
Yeah.
and then when he doesn't suspect that it is us that we want to take him out of being the head of the mafia, like when he thinks that we're on his side, that's when we come after him and become actually the family that's actually running this. I don't know if that's gonna come up in the next episodes, but from a mobster perspective,
Yeah.
I think that's like a very smart move to make him believe that you're on his side, and then
That you trust him and you want him to have a certain amount of participation in sort of the business, I guess.
yeah, and then you just
I don't know. Do you think he's gonna eventually kill his uncle?
Probably. I don't know. I think yeah, probably. I don't know. Or maybe not him per se, but maybe he'll. I think probably they're gonna have to get rid of him.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Because it's episode 6, isn't it, where they start to see the problems of giving him this role.
Yeah. So yeah, I think probably. I mean, yeah, I think he has a lot of influence and a lot of power, but again, he runs things maybe in a way that's not gonna be convenient for Tony.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think probably we're gonna see Tony getting more and more power. And yeah, I think maybe cut to they keep him for the rest of the series. I don't know.
You were completely wrong.
Exactly, but I mean, right now I think that's
where it's headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Do you have any other?
And then there's the other subplot with Melfi. Because Tony gets kind of paranoid, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It links into his original dream at the beginning where he gets really paranoid about people finding out that he's in therapy, and then he has Melfi followed by this corrupt detective who, oh my god, it pissed me off so much in the scene where the detective follows them. Like, she's on a date with a guy, and then this detective and his partner stop them, and he basically, for no reason, beats up her date, basically, and comes up with these bollocks claims, these false charges against him. And so it's you already see this sort of intrusion into her life by Tony. You witness this paranoia, but also I find it quite interesting, and this comes up in the next episode, the fact that his wife Carmela doesn't know that Melfi's a woman, and I found it quite interesting that she kept saying he, and Tony did not correct her, knowing that she would probably get paranoid as well about it.
Yeah, I found like very interesting about that. Yeah, the whole thing with Dr. Melfi's date. Very interesting of what, in terms of what the aftermath, when the guy is also paranoid.
He doesn't want to leave his house anymore and feels like he's being followed. And
and I found it very interesting how he asked her to give him some prescription. And then she said, like, I'm your date, not your doctor. I thought that was very interesting. Like, like, look at how even her professional life gets in a way mixed with her personal life, in the sense that this guy thinks that since I can prescribe things, I can just do it.
I can just hand it out to anyone.
So I think it's very interesting as to what the dynamic in that relationship is. And it's also like, I think you get to see like how Tony also he didn't. I mean, when he hears the story about the fact that the guy got beat up and stuff, he gets like a little bit upset of how the guy overreacted, like the policeman, the detective, how he exaggerated what he had to do.
Yeah, because also Tony said, do this without her noticing. Don't confront her or anything. Don't raise suspicion or anything. You have to stay undercover, and he did the exact opposite.
Exactly. And then when they meet again, and he tells him, "Oh, it's just that I thought that you wanted to have something with this girl, so I thought I'll do you a favor and scare this guy away." Like he didn't really say, he didn't correct him. He just but he didn't say, no, that's not what it is or something.
Yeah.
So I think you get to see, okay.
Which is the running theme of the episode, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I found that, I found that I like that we got to know her a little bit better, or got to see her in a
personal setting, rather than just the professional.
Exactly. I mean, we already had seen her once. I think like when they were on a restaurant and they got like Tony helped.
That's right, yeah.
But now I think this is also when the, or is it in the third episode when her car is broken, and then Tony steals it and has it fixed.
Oh, here, episode 6, yeah.
It's in episode 6. Okay, sorry. So yeah, I think I like that, how we're getting to know her a little bit outside the doctor's office.
Yeah, outside of just her relationship to Tony.
Exactly. Because again, she was a person before, and she is a person outside Tony's therapy sessions. Yeah, I thought it was very nice to see her, but I think that the subplot that I liked the most was probably the one with the son. Because it's that innocence that is taken away.
Yeah, because I wondered where that subplot was building up, what it was building up to, the fact that he kept getting into fights and things.
Yeah, also what I find very interesting is that, like, for example, the website that Meadow shows him.
Oh yeah, that's
it's
great.
Like it's I mean, it's not like, because I thought, maybe she would show him like newspaper articles, something like, but no, it was like this website with Al Capone and all these mafioso guys. So I thought like, so that's how she knows her father. Like, this is like the image that she has of her father, and this is the image that she's given her brother. True. So I thought, like, hey, so they must... I mean,
again, I guess, like you say, this link to The Godfather at the end, I guess, the way we perceive them through popular culture, the way the internet has I guess, also helped shape that impression as well.
Definitely. No, yeah, I think it's also, the show is very self-aware, and it's constantly quoting mobster films.
Yeah.
And even the lighting, it's very similar to the Godfather, like very dark and moody. So yeah, I think definitely, I don't know how because I think you mentioned last time that there were some complaints from the Italo.
Yeah, that they, I mean, with every Italian American mobster movie or show, there's this accusation leveled at it that it's reinforcing these stereotypes of that all Italian Americans must be part of the mob.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I think what I like about the, like, pop culture references in films or whatever is that it makes you share a world with the characters. So I like every time they quote something from Casino or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's I don't know. It's like very self-aware in a good way.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad I have you here to point these things out to me, because I goes straight over my head at the moment. I haven't caught
No.
up on all of these mobster
Yeah,
films.
yeah. Well, we need to do like a special edition of
We
mobsters
should
film.
do, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's quite. Yeah, I think like what I think is that it would probably appeal to I'm gonna say men, but anyone who actually likes mobster films.
Yeah.
That's gonna be also an appeal that okay, like they know all of this. It's like a world. It's like a code.
Yeah.
That they play in the show with all this. I don't know how to call that. Mythology. I don't know.
Yeah.
Of within the mobster. So I think that's
yeah.
also like very cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to
The
the TV episode that changed
Yeah.
television forever?
Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about
Go straight
college.
for it. College.
Sorry, I'm just drinking water.
No
yeah,
worries.
I mean, I think of course I don't think it had on me the impact that it must have had.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I think because it's a shame. It's one of those. I guess it's people call it the Citizen Kane effect, where you have something that influenced so much after it and was so groundbreaking when it first came out, and now as a modern audience, you're so used to what he does or what is being shown to us in this episode that it doesn't have the same impact. But I can understand historically or culturally how big of a deal this must have been.
Yeah, and I think that when you see like a timeline of okay, this episode happened on this year, on this specific time of television, and then you see everything that comes afterwards.
Yeah.
You see, okay, of course, this could happen because this happened, because college happened.
Yeah.
I read, but I mean, even though it didn't have the impact that it must have had when it first aired, I do think that I was able to see all these things that made it a great episode.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like a tone shift in a way from the other episodes. Like I was reading like something that David Chase always wanted to do was like that. Of course, like each episode responds to the character arc of the entire season.
Yeah.
But he also wanted episodes to be able to stand alone.
Yeah.
And he said that of course this episode is the one that best does that the best because it's within the arc, it's within the story that we've been hearing, but you could just watch that and it's like a little mini film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I watched a little bit of an interview with David Chase saying that this was his favourite episode and that this kind of played like a film noir, that you have these two parallel storylines about two different couples in a way, and it could play on its own, really.
Yeah. I really liked the editing between both storylines, because you get to see a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and yeah, I don't know, it feels you're watching. I think both storylines are very equally interesting.
Yeah,
even
definitely.
though, like, of course, like the main storyline with Tony chasing this mobster, of course, the one that has the highest stakes, I guess. But then you have, and I think that was very smart of them to not do this with just any other man in Carmela's life.
Yeah.
Not to do it with I don't know any of the other mobsters.
The postman.
But the fact that they have a priest,
yeah,
it's like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I think you're equally intrigued by both. Actually, like, I had already read what happened in that episode with Tony.
Okay.
But I didn't know what happened with Carmela and the priest.
Yeah.
So I got to be a little bit more, wondering.
It was interesting watching it because you could never tell the scenes always shifted in tone several times, so you're never quite sure, okay, so they're sort of on friendly terms now at the moment. There's this kind of, he's her confidant, but then there's also then it switches to these moments where you think, is something going to happen now between them? And there are shots like when he's giving her communion, there are these really nicely shot close-ups of when of her mouth, like when she takes the, is it the cracker,
the
I guess?
cracker.
The flesh of Christ.
Yeah.
And then she takes the wine. This very sort of intimate moment in front of the fireplace as
and
well.
And she's kneeled.
Yeah, she's kneeled in front of him.
So you know what that means. You know what other things happen when you're kneeled.
So and then I found it quite interesting at the end that he confesses to her that he desires her, and she sort of reacts with this kind of apathy towards him, like it's clearly not what she really wanted from the relationship. And I think there's a certain amount of maybe disgust mixed in there for her, because her husband's already cheating on her, and now this priest is sort of coming on to her, but it draws the line between her and Tony morally.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way she's, or maybe it's not that she was attracted to this particular priest. Maybe she was just attracted
to the fact that he listened to her,
and to the fact that a man desires me, especially after the call. You know, that with Dr. Melfi that calls to change the appointment. So of course she said, he's cheated on me.
Yeah.
So maybe, it's like a vulnerable moment in which this fairly attractive priest, shows some sort of, interest.
Yeah.
In me, like me say, like pretending I'm Carmela. Of course, like you're gonna feel, because I do think that if he hadn't gotten sick, probably something would have happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe just a kiss. I don't know if they would have gone all the way. But I think that something would have happened. But he went to puke, and the moment was the
moment was ruined.
Exactly. And then in the next morning, it's like, you know what? I don't have time for. Because it's also a complication, right? It's not like she would be having an affair with just any man.
Yeah.
That we can just fuck like on the weekends. We can go to a hotel.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's like with
true.
a priest, so like the logistics of it.
Oh my God.
Like you have mass on a Sunday, so we can clearly not do that.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
So but I think like on the other storyline with Meadow, I think like it's very interesting, the relationship between the two of them, how he feels like he can be honest with her and tell her, okay, there are some part of my business that it's not completely legal, and how she's okay with that. Like she doesn't make a big deal out of it. It's not like, oh my God, why?
Yeah, she just appreciates his honesty, and
exactly.
You see them getting closer in that moment.
And then she shares that she did ecstasy.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like we're all being honest. Let's just I'm gonna be honest too. The chase starts right with the guy.
Yeah.
I thought
with the traitor.
With the traitor.
The squealer.
I thought for a second that he was gonna make her miss her appointments at the when he first runs into the guy.
Yeah, and chases him.
I really thought he was not gonna go to the right place. I think he was gonna fuck it and have to chase this guy.
Get this guy.
So I think it's like quite smart and lovely father kind of aspect of him, that okay, I'm gonna do this for my kid, and then I'm gonna call this guy.
But to be fair, I'm sure a part of it is also practicality. Like he can't go and chase down this guy with her in the car, really, can he?
That is true. True.
Because at the end of it, obviously, it's sort of a bit of a heartbreaking moment at the end when he lies to her about where he was and what he did, and she obviously realizes that he's lying to her, and he obviously doesn't want to open up to her quite so much about these more violent aspects of his illegal activities.
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's also okay. Maybe you are okay with the idea of me, doing some illegal stuff, but maybe she thinks it's more of a
like gambling or
exactly
money laundering or something like that.
But killing someone, it's something else.
Although, to be honest, if she thinks he's in the mafia, I don't know what she thinks. Like, I mean,
yeah,
you have to expect that, don't you?
Yeah. But I guess it's different to.
I guess if it's her dad, she doesn't really want to maybe believe that.
One and as like from Tony's point of view, I think it's also like, okay, maybe she thinks that I maybe do these things, but I'm not gonna be the one who confirms it. I'm not gonna be the one who tells her, I killed this guy.
I just killed a guy.
Exactly. So I understand him, why he didn't come clean. And I also understand that she's disappointed because she thought that now he's gonna tell me everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. I think also this thing about like he's chasing this other guy, but the other guy is also chasing him.
Yeah.
It's like very interesting to see how. Yeah, this guy's still a mobster in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was quite interesting. Like, I read that HBO was very nervous about this episode and wasn't really sure if audiences could still root for Tony if he killed this guy quite graphically. But they had him add this bit where he's talking to these junkies and trying, so you're aware, okay, so he's still a mobster in a way, he's still dealing drugs and things, and now he's trying to have Tony killed by these junkies. So in that sense, obviously you still can't justify murder, but they were obviously trying to make it less harmful to his image, I guess, by saying, hey, this guy he's about to kill isn't also that great a guy either.
Yeah, to me it was like so obvious that he had to kill the guy, because I think like I read that like HBO told him, no, he cannot kill the guy, like we're gonna lose the audience because who's gonna relate to a murder, like because that was the thing, like they thought that he had been able to create such a sympathetic character in Tony. It's like this guy who has anxiety attacks. He's just human.
Yeah.
And then we suddenly see him as, he's also a monster in a way.
Yeah.
So they were thinking like, no, we're going to lose the audience. So like David Chase said, it was like, no, I think if he doesn't kill the guy, then people...
That's when we'll lose the audience.
Yeah, exactly, because people are going to think, what kind of mobster is this? That he's not going to kill the rat. Like, he has the opportunity.
He's the boss. He has to make an example, and the fact that he makes this guy responsible for the decline of his own father's health as well, for ratting on them.
Exactly. So I think, like, to me, of course that's what had to happen.
Yeah, I totally understand it from a character point of view, from a story point of view.
Exactly. So I think, I think it was the only way that could happen. He had to do it. He had to kill him. He couldn't really. What I liked was the fact that, and I think that adds a little bit of edge or darkness to Tony. Was the fact that they make this guy tell him, I could have killed you last night.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, okay, he's asking for mercy, but still
Tony has no mercy.
Exactly. So I think that was quite smart, not to make him like, I'm sorry or something,
There's not even a moment where he thinks, should I do this? He
does what he has to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, I hadn't noticed that when we first watched it, but after doing some research, then there's this symbolic thing about he kills him, and then he looks up and there's the dogs.
That's literally one of my notes is, graphic murder scene, ducks.
Yeah. And like what the analysis on the internet say is that, of course, it symbolizes that his family is again going away because he did also this terrible murder. So in a way, he's drifting away from his family again because, and then that's something that we get confirmation of in the next
when he
scene.
lies to
When
Meadow.
he lies to Meadow, it's like, okay, I cannot really tell you what I just did, so it's in a way I'm losing you. With this thing.
Yeah, I saw conflicting analysis. One is exactly that he sort of it symbolizes him losing his relationship to Meadow that he just started to build up. But then another one analysis that I saw was that it symbolized him being at peace, that he fulfilled this mission, and he looks up and he has no regrets or anything about it. He did what he came to do. So it's quite interesting in terms of, I guess, again, the whole show is this basis of this conflict between his mafia self and him being a family man.
Yeah. Which was actually one of the titles that they were gonna give The Sopranos.
What?
Family Man.
Family Man. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Because apparently, like, they thought The Sopranos, what are people gonna believe it is about? Apparently, I think one of the actresses that auditioned for the show thought that it was about opera singers.
Oh.
And,
I see. Sopranos. Yeah.
And then they said, "Oh no, let's change it to Family Man." But then David Chase said, "No,
The Sopranos.
It's The Sopranos." I don't know. No.
Yeah, that's a better title.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Family Man, yeah, but I think like The Sopranos is so encrypted in pop culture that now that it's like, yeah, well, I don't mind. I get it how they would have named it Family Man, and I think it would have worked. But I think The Sopranos now it has like a little bit more of darkness to it.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's its own like legacy is
exactly
what makes you think, oh, The Sopranos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, something that I also really liked about the episode was when he comes back to their place after the tour, and Carmela tells him, "Hey, yeah, the priest spent the night here."
Yeah.
Like, of course he gets upset, but not in a way that I would have expected. I don't know, like his attitude, I think revealed a lot of, like, made me curious about a little bit more about their relationship. Because here she is, first of all, telling him like, hey, yeah, this guy spent the whole night here. Our son wasn't here.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay, so why are you telling me? I think he really, in a way, he didn't believe that something could have happened between the two of them, but at the same time he did. So it's like, okay, what does that tell us about their marriage?
Yeah.
Like, is he okay with the idea of her also maybe having a fling on the side?
Yeah.
Or is he so confident that she won't, that he really doesn't care? Like he doesn't get that.
So yeah, because it's not like a jealous rage or anything.
Exactly, it's not that.
Like you say, it's sort of ambiguous as to whether what he really feels about whether or not she's having an affair.
And then he says, the guy said it's gay or something. I think he implies something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it reveals how he sees her. He sees her.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't really see thinks she's capable of doing something like that, or
I
think maybe he doesn't care.
Well, that's the other interesting part I found about that storyline, because she admits to the priest, she says, I allowed, like, I did not what was right but what was easy for me, because it gave her like a good life, and she kind of turned a blind eye to what he was really doing. And from the first 3 episodes, I always wanted, they had me wondering what her role really is, how much she knows, how okay she is with it all. is she gonna turn out to be, in a way, also kind of as ruthless as he is when it comes down to it? But this episode revealed to be that no, she's trying to be a good person, but she's realized she's married not a great person, and struggling with that, particularly relating this to her religion, trying to be a good Catholic. I mean, we find out that she hasn't confessed in 20 years, I think she said, which is also quite telling. So maybe in some sense he knows that, and he knows that she's trying to be a good person, or that her religion is sort of holding her back from doing questionable things, and that's why he doesn't feel that threatened by the priest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I thought that was like quite interesting to see there.
But then I also love the reveal that she then tells him, oh yeah, Dr. Melfi called, and that she knows now that Dr. Melfi's a woman, and then he's left explaining himself rather than the other way around.
Yeah. Which I think also shows you that she knows she has this power over him. Like, she's actually, I think she's more powerful than what.
Yeah.
Maybe not within, of course, the mafia, but I think within the relationship between the two of them, she knows how to, I think she has some power there that we haven't seen like completely yet, and I hope we get to see how how powerful and how actually independent, and how how much influence she actually has on Tony.
Yeah, I guess the threat more is not whether she commits adultery, but whether she might, I guess, eventually leave him because of his adultery, I guess, and what impact that would have on him or his image, maybe.
Yeah, and I think, like, emotionally, I think she can also maybe push his buttons a little bit.
That's true.
So, and this is a mobster who has a lot of emotional problems.
Yeah.
So let's see what that does to,
because I'm
character.
Still, like you say, I'm still kind of trying to work out their relationship and how he really feels about her, because up until now it seems like he doesn't seem particularly interested in her sexually anymore. He's having all these affairs. He's in the next episode he's dreaming about Melfi. I get the sense he kind of finds her somewhat annoying, or having to not sort of manage her emotions, I guess, or her feelings. I think for him is quite hard work or irritating at times. But at the same time, you get that sense with the way that Melfi explains is that she's still not quite giving him what he needs emotionally. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how he really feels about Carmela and how important she is to him emotionally anyway.
Yeah. I think the thing might be that she tells him that, like, that he sees her as just a wife.
Yeah, and the mother of his children.
And the mother of the so she fulfilled this practical need or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because he talks about being a man and obviously being in charge of the mob, and you have to maintain a certain image, and I guess part of that is maintaining sort of the family structure as well, and that's the role that she's fulfilling.
Yeah, I do think, or maybe this is me wanting to believe that he loves her. I think there's some love there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's clearly that he doesn't feel attracted to her physically anymore.
Yeah, I have no doubt that he does have still feelings towards her, or does still love her. Yeah, it's just his behavior towards her is still shows a certain amount of, I think, apathy towards his relationship with her, I think.
Yeah, maybe because I think he probably takes her for granted, right? Like, okay, she's there. Where is she gonna go? She doesn't seem to do
that much
anything outside being a housewife, obviously. So it's
I'm trying to think.
So it's like, okay, where is she gonna go? This is
And we haven't seen her family either.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it's this idea. Okay, this is something that I already have. It's something a sure thing. So why would I keep cultivating something there? But yeah, very interesting episode. Very
yeah, and I also love the Hawthorne quote at the end at the university. What did I have it written down? So no man for any considerable period can wear one face to himself and another to the multitude without finally getting bewildered as to which may be the truth.
Exactly.
I found that quite interesting. Yeah, so I guess that's the central question around the show is like, is he like a husband and like a family man first, or is he a mob boss, a mafioso first?
Yeah,
that's the question.
Yeah,
which one is more important?
Yeah, I probably the mafioso thing.
Yeah, that's the sense I get too.
Yeah, that the family thing is something that
sort of incidental in a way.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. On to episode 6.
Yeah. Which is when I felt so much for Tony. I was like, oh, poor Tony. Oh, I thought it was so cute the way he.
that moment in his
when he says, "I love you," I found it like very cute that he just assumed that his sexual desire was love.
Yeah.
You know, out of nowhere, he's like, "Yeah, I love you. I'm in love with you."
Or like, I just think about you constantly.
Yeah. Which I think it was like very premature, of course, but
quite,
but very kind of sweet. Like you see him in this vulnerable position. And I don't know. And then when she explains to him, like, no, this is your feeling. What you're feeling is this, and then she tries to rationalize his feelings. He says, like, you don't love me. I was like, oh, no, Tony. Poor Tony.
Poor Tony.
Like, I really felt for him. Like, oh. Poor thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because this was an episode where that's the thing, because his whole relationship with Melty, and then she explains that this is him sort of projecting onto her what he wants from the women in his life, like his mother, his wife, the fact that, I mean, even even when he goes to see his mistress and he just wants to like talk, and she reacts overreacts, and he just can't get her to just open up or to just listen to him. You know that these therapy sessions are obviously changing him in a way that he needs to open up more with people, and that he's desperately looking for that, I guess, particularly with the women in his life, and they're just not able to give him that. Exactly.
I think he definitely is looking for, needs a connection. I think everyone needs connections. And because of his same relationship, like the nature of his relationship with Carmela, which we you don't really know. She's like just the mother of his children. Then the mom, which is
oh my god.
Jesus. And then and something that she that I found very interesting was when she tells him, like, okay, what does Carmela, your mother, and your daughter and I have in common? Like, we're all Italian.
Yeah.
So it's like he's still he's following like a pattern. He wants to be surrounded by the same kind of woman, like quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
Like to feel something, to feel at home, to feel familiar.
Yeah.
Because all these other women are in a way pushing him away, in the sense that, I mean, the mom, definitely,
she's a piece of work.
Exactly. Carmela, I mean,
well, I mean, exactly. Their relationship has been at a distance for a while, obviously.
Yeah, maybe this is the first time that he's getting close to anyone, really. And maybe it's too late for him to try to get close to Carmela. Like, how do you change that relationship from being distant and cold to, I want to tell you some things.
It is quite sad in a way, because it feels like Carmela does want to be that person for him, but you get the sense that being in these panic attacks and being in therapy, he was kind of forced into this, and finally being forced to talk openly about things and talk about his feelings. Whereas you get the sense with Carmela, he obviously just fell into this pattern of, we don't really need to talk, even though she probably tried, and even though she probably wanted to be that person for him, he never really opened up to her.
Yeah. And I thought, that was quite interesting. But I also thought that, and she didn't answer, because he asked her, like, okay, but why did you pick me? Why did you agree to see me?
Why did you want the female therapist?
Exactly. She asks him that, but then he asks her, okay, but tell me something. Like, most people don't have to be associated with me. Why did you say yes? Why did you agree to our sessions? And she doesn't respond. And it's like, okay, so you definitely, why did you agree to see this guy?
Yeah, that's a question I have. Like I said, I mean, I mentioned it in the first, I think it's the first episode, where you get the sense, I mean, she's almost complicit, because she, in their first session, says, you can't tell me certain things because otherwise I'm going to have to report it to the police. So she's giving in this open, basically, and ignoring the questionable things he does in his life, and you wonder why.
Yeah, like, that made me even more curious as to why are you doing this? Why?
Yeah, exactly what her motives are. If she finds maybe some kind of professional curiosity in him, maybe.
Yeah. Also, like, when he tries to kiss her, like, she's not. I mean, like, she lets him get quite close. And it's only like in the last second that she says, like, okay, no. I wonder, like, whether she's starting to feel attracted to him as well. But to be fair, and that's another one of my notes, like, I think that because that's something that happens quite a lot in therapy. Like, it's called, I think, transfer, something like that, which is when the patient builds this connection to the therapist, so he or she starts to feel attracted to the therapist. And I think that what therapists should do or have to do in those cases is refer them to someone else.
Okay.
And she doesn't do that. She says, no, I want you to be here next week. It's like, no!
I know, that's what I thought was quite interesting, the fact that clearly, like, a line has been crossed. He's like, I love you, and he tried to kiss her. And the fact that she's just, come back next week. And I thought, surely that's not healthy
procedure.
Surely that's not a good thing to do.
Yeah, and even, like, she says, like, I want to keep exploring that. Do you have time this afternoon?
Yeah,
like, she wanted
like Tuesday after. Yeah,
Tuesday
something
afternoon. Like that. And it's like, okay. I see you, Malfi. I see you. Yeah, because I think that you, and I guess this is a spoiler alert, but I think you mentioned in last episode that they eventually get together. No. Where did I?
I'm wondering that.
But I thought I remembered you saying, no, I think they get together eventually. I'm sorry, I don't know if they do. If they do, then
because I'm wondering that.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something there.
I feel like they're building up to something.
Yeah, so they probably.
We'll just have to wait
and see. Do the nasty in the office.
The therapist room.
Exactly.
Room.
Yeah, but what else happens in that episode? But
then, I mean, you also have, because this is a thing, you have this very almost heartbreaking moment where he says, oh, I love you and all this. But then at the same time, she also finds out that he's been following her, and that he's crossed this line of intruding on her privacy, and like and like you mentioned, then her car's not working properly. He gets wind of this in the session, and then he goes and steals her car and has it fixed for her, and she's like, I was really scared. I didn't know what was going on. Someone just took my car and stuff. So on the other hand, he doesn't seem to quite understand boundaries either.
Yeah, I think it's also that's what he thinks maybe love is, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe he has this very I don't know how to describe it, but this idea of what love is, and maybe for him is, oh, okay, she's gonna be glad that I took the car and I wanted to do things for her, so I'm gonna take her car and have it fixed, and she will think that it is romantic.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of great.
Not really. Yeah, but it's quite interesting that he sort of commits this illegal act, really. Like, he's so stooped in this criminal underworld that he thinks that, oh, this is appropriate now. Because he doesn't seem to, I'm guessing, like, the lines get blurred pretty quickly as to what is right and what is wrong. So I guess we'll have to see how this turns out in the end. Because, like, right at the end, it also hints that kind of the law is catching up to him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do to kind of, like, escape.
Yeah, because we've got 5 more seasons of this. So he must be able to. He must manage it, I'm assuming. Unless the next 5 seasons are him from prison.
Exactly.
It's like Prison Break.
That's what they got the idea.
That's where they got the idea, yeah. And then right at the end, that's when he broke out. And then that's why people were so upset, because they were like, finally, we're going to get to see what happened. And then it just cut to black.
Exactly. That's maybe that's we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, what are your feelings on those 3? Was there like a favourite one, a least favourite one?
Yeah, no, I think definitely the college one is. I mean, of course, I think like the episode that changed television. The game. No.
Yeah.
I think I had my reservations. Like, okay, let's see how this translates over 10 years later.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a really well written episode.
Definitely. I mean, it's also, and I think the creator also talked about this, that it's kind of a nice, almost like a play. You could take the episode College out of more or less the context of the show, and you could still watch it and still enjoy it, and it's still like a good morality play. Yeah.
No, I think that's a really nice. I think that one and the 6th one is also really nice to see. Tony, I guess, a little bit vulnerable in him opening up to the woman, and she's like, oh no. So I liked that, to see this such a powerful guy who's used to having anything he wants.
That's true.
Just to see him, oh no,
get rejected.
Exactly, and how he acted, I think it was so, I guess, childish a little bit.
Yeah.
But also made him a little bit more human, and it was funny to see him like a real person, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I also like just the complexity of. You kind of think, oh, he's genuinely got feelings for her, and then kind of her breaking that down and saying, actually, maybe it's just you projecting onto me what you want or need at the moment, you know, whether it's, I think it'll be interesting to unpack what those feelings actually are.
Yeah, because love is not real, people.
We've learned that. There's one thing we've learned so far in our lives. Oh boy.
It's just a chemical reaction. I'm kidding.
Oh man.
Love is real.
For some people. Some are luckier than others.
No, but I'm enjoying it.
Me too, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I could see myself binging through it.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah,
listening.
Just slowly, like every 4 weeks, watching 3 episodes with us.
I mean, you probably have jobs.
Yeah.
Maybe you are one of those lucky people with love in your life.
You have friends, a social life.
So this works for you. This works for your schedule.
Yeah. Just 1 episode a week.
Exactly.
So to speak.
Genau.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Me too.
I am gripped.
No.
The characters are great, I think.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated with their lives, trying to work out how they really feel and what's going to come next.
Yeah, I think it's like I think I said that on the first binge week episode that it's not what I thought it would be, but in a very good way.
Yeah, because actually I've been surprised how when I watched it and I knew obviously that this is the show that sort of started off all the anti-heroes and sort of the golden age of television, so to speak. And I thought that it was, for the time, I thought it was going to be complex, but that since then, obviously we've built up on that, and the actually shows today, in comparison, are a lot more complex when it comes to their character studies. But no, I was really surprised how in depth and complicated they all are right from the beginning. How well written it is.
Yeah.
By today's standards.
Yeah. So kudos to HBO because I know you guys are fans of Elevator Pitch. I know you guys are listening.
If you wanna make something with us, please please do
give
know
us
how
a
to
job.
contact us, please. Yeah.
Good. So what do we have next week?
Next week we have a classic that, well, the topic is, I don't want to kind of give away the films just yet, but the topic is films that ruined a franchise.
Exactly. That's gonna be an exciting.
Yeah, because our friend was it? I think our friend Andres who somehow we came up with one of the films.
Yeah.
And then that led us onto the topic of films that were in a franchise. And I think your pick is probably going to be quite unanimous.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think mine also relatively unanimous. We'll see about Andres's.
Yeah, probably as well.
Yeah, I think
probably
so.
As well. I think
the majority of people probably feel that way.
Yeah, so if you love to hate on films.
Yeah, these are the best podcasts when we just shit
exactly
on films. I always love to really just rant. And
exactly.
boy, are we gonna rant!
And that's exactly what we're going to do.
It also didn't help that we watched your pick really hungry.
Yeah.
We were like waiting for this is like a little sneak peek into what's going on in our lives.
Yeah. Which is not much. But this is like the biggest this is like the biggest inconvenience for us. # first world problems. But we were like watching this film and we ordered food and it never arrived. It was so late and we were so hungry. Yeah, we ended up
and watching this film on an empty stomach. I mean, it gets pretty tiring after like the first hour anyway. It's pretty grating on the senses. But doing it on an empty stomach is even worse. Like, I might have been able to enjoy your pick a little bit better
if you had been
if I'd
fed.
eaten something, which we did eventually. But it was I think it was like 3 hours later.
Yeah, after the film, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we finished the film, and only then did the food come. So
yeah, and we had to order from another restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's that's life, I guess.
Yeah, that's what happened to us.
Yeah. But thank you so much, as always, everyone, for listening to us.
Yep.
I hope that you join us in the next episode of Elevator Pitch. I'm Altair.
I'm Hazel.
And
see you soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. If you like this episode, why not hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode? And if that's still not enough, you can follow us on Instagram at elevatorpitch_pod to stay up to date with all the latest news.